Some people seem to effortlessly reach new levels of success while others stay stuck. What if the secret lies in the way our brains are wired? The way you think about success may be the very thing holding you back. Today, we're unlocking the science behind rewiring your brain for unstoppable sales success. Ready to learn how to permanently shift your relationship with money and welcome in a new level of financial flow? Let's dive into the science of sales success and how understanding our brains can break through limitations. Welcome to Superhuman Selling. Today, we are talking all about the power of your mind and how it impacts your sales results. And now, I will give a massive disclaimer before we get into this episode. I am not a neuroscientist, although I may look like one. But today, we are diving into the things that I've been studying for the past 4 years that have dramatically impacted my results. And I used to be someone who would hear people talking about overcoming limiting beliefs or using vision boarding or using different tools to rewire your mind like affirmations. And I would say, I'm doing these things. Why is it not happening? Why is it not coming together for me? Why do I always feel stuck and like I'm struggling and like I can't break through to another level? And so it's been such a beautiful journey over the past 4 years to really dive into a lot of these modalities and a lot of new information that I want to share with you today. And so when I think about superhuman selling in our brand, I really see it as the crossroads of the intersection of three different things: sales, science, and spirituality. And so as you're diving in and listening to the show and maybe coming and working with us in our programs, there's a lot of content on how to grow your sales, right? And there's also a lot of content that to me feels very spiritual because I think that ascending and growing our sales, our business, and our life is, to me, there has to be an element of spirituality to this. And then there's also science, right? Neuroscience, quantum physics. And it's really fun to me to blend those three. And so today we're going to speak a little bit more on the science side of things, but I'm going to give you my own twist and my own perspective on a lot of this and just what has worked for me to rewire my brain to be able to do things that I really wanted to do for a long time, but felt like I just had resistance around or I couldn't make it happen. And I'll share with you one of my very favorite tools that we teach in the community as well, that I think is incredibly impactful for aligning your belief systems and your mind and your brain with what you want to accomplish. So I think the first thing to really understand here is the power of the subconscious mind on your results. And so I grew up in a very analytical household. Both my parents went to Ivy League schools, like very left brain, very smart, right? Traditional book smart. So that was what was taught, and that was kind of what was rewarded and celebrated. And I grew up thinking that if I couldn't see something, if I couldn't quantify it, if I couldn't measure it, that it didn't really matter and it didn't really exist. And so for me, going into this work has really challenged a lot of my own belief systems and a lot of the way I used to think about things, where if I can't see it, if I can't measure it, it doesn't exist. Well, it's not true. Science actually has proven that we see less than 1% of what is out there. You see and experience less than 1% of reality. And so just let that blow your mind for a minute. There's a lot happening behind the scenes that you can't perceive with your physical senses. But according to science and according to neuroscience, the subconscious mind, which is the seat of all your belief systems, your identity, your programs for how the world works, that controls 95 to 98% of your results in sales, in business, in every part of your life, in relationships. And so where I think a lot of people get into struggle and where I struggled for so long was wanting to change something, right? Maybe you want to change something in your life. You want to quantum leap your sales or your business. You want to maybe become a top keynote speaker in the world. And you're like, okay, what do I need to do? Right? What do I need to do? I need to do these things. I need to take these steps. The action piece, the doing piece is only 3 to 5% of it. And yet we get so caught up in that. And that was the loop that I was in for so many years, wanting more for my life, stuck at the six-figure level no matter how hard I worked. And I was like, okay, what do I need to do? What funnels do I need to create? What do I need to say? What programs do I need to launch? But I never stopped and asked myself, who do I need to be? And what do I need to believe about myself and about success and about money and everything that I was focused on in order to have a different result? And so if you knew that whatever your goal is right now, that 95 to 98% of it was going to come down to your belief systems, your programs, your identity, your self-concept, wouldn't you want to work on that first? Right? Wouldn't you want to hone in on that first and then take action from there? So it's a very different approach to goal setting and to achieving when we come at it from this perspective. And so one of the things that's so beautiful to understand though on this journey is it doesn't matter how long you have thought certain thought patterns. Maybe your whole life you felt unworthy. Maybe your whole life or as far back as you can remember, you felt less than, or like your voice doesn't matter, or like it's not safe to be visible. So, what science would tell us is that because you've thought that thought many, many times, there are very well worn, well traveled neural pathways in your brain. So, you want to start to notice when something happens in my life, what's my default assumption about it? Because that's going to tell you what your beliefs are. So you want to start tracking and noticing your reactions to life. Let's say that you think a client is going to sign and then it falls through. What is your default reaction to that? Are you thinking, okay, well, if it's not them, it's another one, right? Or are you thinking something where maybe you're making it mean something about you? Oh, I must not have done something right. Oh no, now I'm not going to hit my quota for the quarter. I'm not going to hit my revenue goal. So noticing how you react to life will tell you what your belief systems are. And what's so powerful though is that when you realize that just because you think a thought, it doesn't mean it's true. So we've dug into the difference between personal truths and universal truths on other episodes. So you can go back and listen to even episode 2. We dive into this more. So you can go back and listen to that more. But what I want you to start doing today and really, I would say getting excited about is knowing that just because you may have thought a certain thought for a long time in your life, and we know that whatever the belief is that you hold about yourself is going to manifest as your reality. It doesn't have to stay that way. So the science of neuroplasticity tells us that we can start to form new beliefs. And when I'm speaking at conferences or speaking at events, I'll actually pull up, there's cool videos on YouTube that you can pull up that will show you neural pathways detaching or attaching. And that's what happens when we either stop thinking a thought that maybe we've thought for a long time, or we start thinking and believing a new thought. So you can watch this happen, and it's really, really beautiful and really, really powerful. But so if you want to start to form a new thought, maybe for a long time in your life, you've thought money is hard to make or money is hard to come by. And so that's been your experience. And now you want to start affirming and believing, and this is one of my favorite beliefs about money, that money is the easiest thing in the world for me to make. Well, you've got a very well-worn pathway in your brain that says money is hard to come by. So you start trying out the new thought, you start thinking the new thought, and sometimes we can give up if we try for a little bit and we say, I still like, this isn't happening, nothing's changing, it's not working. And the way that I would think about it, I think a helpful visual for you is imagine the old belief, the old thought is like a super highway in your brain. So there's a lot of cars driving down it. It's the fastest pathway to get from point A to point B right now. And you want to think of the new thought that you're carving out, that you're wanting to think money is the easiest thing in the world for me to make, as this is a new road that you're building. And so maybe you're building it in the middle of a forest and it's uncharted territory. Well, you're going to have to clear the path. You're going to have to lay down a pathway for things to go through, and then you're going to have to start to reroute traffic to go down that path versus the old superhighway. But what happens is as you intentionally and consciously think the new thoughts again and again, and you notice yourself thinking the old thought that money is hard to make or I'm unworthy, and you say, no, we don't believe that anymore. We don't choose that as our truth anymore. I am choosing a reality. I'm choosing an experience where money is the easiest thing in the world for me to make. It's like you're starting to carve out that new path. And then the old path, the old thing that was the superhighway, you don't have as many cars driving down it anymore. You're not taking that path as much anymore. And whatever is no longer used eventually just dies out. So you can start to think about it like if there was a road and no one ever maintained it and no one ever took care of it, eventually things would grow over, right? Trees would grow over on it, branches would grow over, it would get crowded. Um, you wouldn't be able to use it anymore, and it would just kind of stop. It would stop being the path. Well, that's what's happening when you're forming new beliefs. And we'll talk a little bit more in this episode about how to do that. But I want to just encourage you that if you have been working on forming a new belief for a couple months, maybe a couple years, right? And you're like, why is it not happening? Why is nothing changing? Now, I don't think it needs to take that long necessarily, and there's ways to speed up how quickly we change our beliefs. But how long did you think the other way? How long did you believe the other way? How long have you felt unworthy? How long have you felt less than? Maybe it's decades, right? So just because something doesn't shift or change overnight, it doesn't mean it's not changing. So we want to remember that and let that motivate us and fuel us, right, while we are changing out beliefs. But so the science of neuroplasticity is so beautiful. And again, you can go on YouTube or you can Google and look for videos of how this works. But it's a beautiful tool and it's a beautiful awareness that you can change any belief that you want. And one of the things that science also shows us is that emotional impact is key. So there's a lot of different ways to change beliefs, and we'll dive into a little bit more of that as we go throughout the episode. And you'll hear some people talk about space-time repetition, right? So just saying, I'm a millionaire, I'm a millionaire, I'm a millionaire over and over and over again. The problem with that is that if you're not emotionalizing that, if you're saying that, but you're in an energy of lack or in an energy of misbelief, it's not actually making it into your subconscious mind. So I want you to think about maybe someone who has been a lifelong smoker who's tried to quit over and over and over again, and yet has never been able to. And then they go to the doctor and they get a diagnosis of lung cancer and they quit that day. Why is it that suddenly they could stop doing something that had been so hard for them their whole life to stop doing, even though they'd wanted it? It was the emotional impact of the diagnosis from the doctor where they said, that's it, I'm done. And I know in my own life, for a really long time, again, for over 10 years, I said, I want more for my life. I want to experience greater. And yet nothing ever really happened. Why? I hadn't made a firm, committed decision to change. There wasn't the emotional impact that there was when I finally read the book Top 5 Regrets of the Dying by Bronnie Ware and lost a friend of mine at age 39 and said, I'm done playing small and I don't care how long this takes. I don't care what it takes. But I made a decision in that moment to change. And so we can change beliefs with space-time repetition and just affirming over time, but it's going to take a longer time. So when we learn how to leverage emotional impact and use it for our good, then we can change beliefs really fast, right? Just like that. Now, another tool that I think is important for you to be aware of as you're on this journey, as you're curious about your brain and how it works and how it impacts your sales success is part of the brain called the reticular activating system. So you may have heard of the red car phenomenon, right? Where you decide that you're going to buy a red car, and then suddenly everywhere you look on the road, there's a red car driving around you. We had this happen earlier this year, but it was with a white Mercedes. I was like, for some reason, that's the next car. I know I wanted to buy it. I started seeing them everywhere. Hadn't really noticed them before, started seeing that car everywhere. And so the job of the reticular activating system is to filter out all information, all sensory input that does not apply, that it views as unnecessary, or that doesn't align with your belief systems. And this is why rewiring your beliefs is so important on your journey to achieving your goals. Because if you have a goal of making $100,000 a month, but you have a belief system that you're not worthy of that, you could have opportunities land in your lap that would actually get you there, but your reticular activating system will filter them out. And things will happen that you're not even aware of. You may have, and I'll share you a personal story about this in a minute, but you may have an email come in your inbox that would be the very thing that would get you to where you want to go, and to your goal, but you'll suddenly get distracted and you'll walk away. You may have a great opportunity land on your lap, and then suddenly you'll feel hungry or you'll feel tired and you're like, oh, I'll think about this later. I'll do this later. You walk away. You never come back to it. That's actually the power of the reticular activating system at work. There's so much information coming at us at any given amount of time that you would literally go crazy if you were paying attention to all of it, right? So think about if you were paying attention right now to the sound of the fan or the heat in your room, if you were paying attention to the weather, if you were paying attention to every little sound going on in your room, if you were thinking about your heart beating, your respiratory rate, you couldn't manage it all, right? You would go crazy. So the reticular activating system helps you filter out only information that your brain and your subconscious deems relevant to your goals, to who you are, and to what matters to you in that moment. And so, what's so powerful about this is when you learn to align your belief systems with what you want, the reticular activating system actually goes to work finding people, opportunities, scenarios that will move you towards where you want to go. And there's a powerful book about this. Maxwell Maltz wrote Psycho-Cybernetics. So you can go read that book for more information and more context on this. But I remember I had this happen a couple of years ago where I had a goal that at the time I really wanted. My analytical mind, my conscious mind knew that I wanted this, but I had a subconscious belief that it was big and that I wasn't worthy of it. So I had an email land in my inbox from a really ideal prospect who I had been wanting to work with for some amount of time. Now you would think that email came through and I jumped on it. Mm-mm. I let it sit. I said, oh, I'll get back to them later. And then a day passed, and then 2 days passed, and then several weeks passed, and I never responded. What happened there? Isn't that interesting? Well, I didn't feel worthy. I didn't have a subconscious belief that things like that could just come to me that easily, that opportunities could flow in like that. And so that's what'll happen. So if you, again, you've got a goal, a vision, something you want to accomplish, but it doesn't align with your belief systems, then you'll have opportunities come in, but you'll get distracted. You'll suddenly feel sleepy. You'll feel like you need to go have a snack. You'll walk away, or you won't even see it. You won't even notice it. So we've got to do the inner work to align our belief systems in our mind with what we want to accomplish and achieve. So the final piece that I want to speak to here today, and there's so much more on this. If you haven't taken our free course on the 4 quadrants of quantum sales growth, I highly suggest that because it's like a little mini masterclass on all of this. So you can go to elisearcher.com/4quadrants to get a much deeper dive into all of this because I know we only have so much time on the podcast. But I want to speak a little bit to motivation and using motivation techniques to achieve your goals and why I actually don't lean into that too much in my life. So, we have all probably been there where we had a goal. Maybe you wanted to release some weight, maybe you wanted to achieve something in your business, and you say, "Okay, I'm going to get an accountability partner, right? I'm going to maybe I'm going to hire a trainer. I'm going to get a lot of external support to help me." Nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that, and that can work. However, Where the real transformation happens is when you actually build an identity that's in alignment with your goals. Once you have the identity built, the action actually doesn't feel hard anymore. You don't feel like you need an accountability partner. You don't feel like you need to track your macros or to track your sales calls every day because you naturally are doing it. It's part of who you are. It's part of your identity. It's part of your self-concept. Now, don't let this be a cop-out. If having an accountability partner is helping you right now towards your goals, or if tracking is helping you towards your goals, do it. There's a lot of power in that. But the deeper level of transformation comes when we realize that our results will never supersede our identity. And I'm going to give you a tool that we use within the community, but I'm also going to tell you a quick story. And this is actually, it's unrelated to sales, but how we do one thing is how we do everything. So what we're talking about here applies really to every area of your life. So I have a private client who I'm working with right now who has wanted to release some weight for a long time in his life. And when he came into coaching, we were talking about it and he was like, yeah, like I know I should be doing the things. I know I should be going to the gym. I know there was a lot of shoulds. Now I think your shoulds are, fill in the blank. Shoulds are SHIT. I don't know if I'm going to cuss on this show, but there's that. So I find that anytime we're shitting on ourselves, we are not coming from a place of true alignment. But so he had a lot of shoulds around his weight and his goals there. And so going to the gym always felt hard. Eating right always felt hard. And he was trying to do the things, but there was a gap in his identity. He didn't view himself as a healthy person. He didn't view himself as someone who naturally fueled his body well or enjoyed working out. And so I think it was maybe just a month into working together, a couple months max, but he messaged me and he had a really powerful spiritual experience where he connected with the higher version of himself. And from that place, he saw health differently. He saw his body, his vessel differently. He saw that it was a temple, a channel from which he could do his work in the world, and that the healthier that it was, and the cleaner that it was, and the clearer that it was, the higher level of success and abundance and impact he could have in the world. And he said that night, I went out and partied, but afterwards, he said he was going through, I think, a drive-through, and he went to get a cheeseburger, which is what he would normally do. And he said he took 2 bites, and he didn't want it. He set it down. Why? His self-concept shifted. His identity shifted. The thing that used to feel natural and normal and like something he enjoyed suddenly was no longer something that he enjoyed. And in the span of just a couple of days after that, his pants started fitting differently. He's enjoying going to the gym and working out. And so that wasn't external motivation. That was an inner shift in self-concept. And so one of the first things that we do with our clients when they come into our programs is a process we call new personality, old personality. I'm going to teach it to you like high level here. My team always laughs when I bring this up because I love this. But I think this is really part of the secret sauce, if not the secret sauce to real transformation. So Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this. He says, your personality creates your personal reality. And your personality is composed of your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. And so if we are wanting to create a new personal reality, we have to actually become a new personality. And so how do we start to do this on a more concrete level? What I have my clients do and what I do for myself is I look at whatever the goal is that they want to accomplish or whatever the goal is that I want to accomplish. And we use a spreadsheet for this. It's very sexy. You use a spreadsheet, you can use a sheet of paper, you can use the notes on your phone. Doesn't really matter what it is, just something where you can actually write down some things around this. And we want to look at, from the version of you with your goal accomplished, what thoughts, what feelings, and what actions are you having? All right. What thoughts, what feelings, and what actions are you having? And then so that's your new personality. So that's one side of the paper. And then the other side, we're going to do old personality. So that's who are you being right now? Now, this is important when you're doing this. You're not going to shame yourself. You're not going to judge yourself. You're not going to make yourself wrong for this, but you just want to have a lot of healthy self-awareness around this. And you want to look at what thoughts am I thinking right now that I wouldn't be thinking from the end result? What feelings am I feeling that I wouldn't be feeling if my goal were accomplished? And what actions am I taking or not taking that I know would be different if my end goal were accomplished? And we want to start to write those down because it's a different version of you who accomplishes that next level goal. And that's actually really the gift in this. And this isn't about being someone other than who you are. It's not even really about acting as if. To me, this is about stripping away the layers of conditioning that you've taken on over the years that tell you that you can't be, do, or have anything you want. And so when we tune into, I call them like soul desires, right? What is it that your soul wants to experience in this lifetime on this planet? Whether it's a certain amount of travel, a certain amount of impact, living a certain way, giving a certain way. When we tune into those soul desires, what this exercise is doing is it's really helping you just connect with who is that version of you who does this? And what's powerful is I believe that version already exists. And this is just about you connecting or aligning with them. But we've got to become aware of where you're not showing up in alignment with that right now. So, for example, and I used to not share so much my own numbers or journey, but I found that there's a lot of inspiration for me in hearing other entrepreneurs and leaders, especially women and moms, talk about their numbers, their growth, because it inspires me to see that I can do something better and I can do something bigger. And so I'll share in my own journey. For me right now, the amount that I'm aligning with is 500K a month. So that's the goal. I have not yet experienced that in my 3D world. We've gotten close. But that's the number, that's the goal. And again, that number, that goal, it's not so much about the money. And in episode 2, we dove into a lot about money. So go back and watch that episode if you haven't watched that, because that's going to really help you release limiting money beliefs. But it's more about who do I get to become in the process of that? How much more expansive can I allow my life to be? How much more impact can I have? How much more can I serve? How much more can I push the edges of my comfort zone as I get there as well? And so that's the frequency that I'm tuning into right now. And so I share that as an example to say the version of Elise at that level, she is different. And I think I'm aligning more and more with her every day. But if I was fully aligned with her, it would have happened right now in the world. So it's beautiful because it means I have growth that I get to do along the way, right? So I play with this in the morning, and I would encourage you to think about this too. Whatever your goal is, if it's 10K months, 25K months, 100K months, whatever it is, um, who is the version of me who does this? So at that level, I know for myself, there's a different level of leadership. There's a different level of trust in my team. There's a different level of delegation. There's a different level of trust in myself. There's a different feeling state even when circulating money. There's a different level of impact that we're making in the world. And so those are the things that I play with every single day. And my work and my goal every day is I want to be, for right now, my next goal is I want to be 500K a month at least, right? Again, not so much just because I want to have experience the money coming in, although that will be fun. But it's about, I can tell that's my next level of soul alignment on my journey, right? So I play with that. And so when you use this tool of new personality, old personality, you're able to, you shift your focus from just manifesting some end result because that's there and that'll happen, but that'll happen naturally as a byproduct of who you're being. You shift your focus to manifesting or being the version of yourself with that goal accomplished every single day. And you think about, from this place, how do I think, right? How generous am I? How do I lead? What are the words that I'm saying? How am I investing in myself? How am I impacting others? How am I giving? and you start practicing being that person and noticing when the old comes up, because that will happen, and then shifting, using some of the tools we talked about today on the podcast to shift in real time to the new version of you with your goals accomplished. So, new personality, old personality, it's one of my favorite tools. You can use it and apply it for wherever it is that you want to go in life and in your business journey. So, I hope this served you. I would love to connect more and hear about what spoke to you about this episode. What are you going to take and what are you going to implement from it? Be sure we're connected on social. I'm at Elise Archer on all platforms. I'd love to connect with you further there. And if you'd love to explore getting some support towards your sales, your business, and your life goals, reach out to my team. We're here to help support you. You can go to elisearcher.com/free call and request a call with my team where we'll dive into your vision, your goals, and what it is that you're looking to accomplish and finding a really aligned, beautiful way for you to quantum leap there. So thank you, as always, for being a listener of this show. And I want to just remind you as we wrap up to trust yourself on your path to success. Your desires are green lights leading you and everyone around you to a brighter future.